Lately, I hardly get any sleep. This kidnapping case was making matters worse. An extravagant girl, Catherine, the claustrophobic atmosphere of the Molesberg mansion, a twisted challenge that was thrown at me, and that mask. That mask was haunting me. That morning, I found a surprise waiting for me in the Miami Harbinger. Tucked between its pages, similar to the letter found 2 days before, an envelope stuck out. Inside it, a note, displaying some chess pieces, whose meaning would only become clear to me later, and a picture that immediately attracted my attention. Catherine, hand in hand with a guy I'd never seen before. I woke up with very few ideas, but this event gave me a new lead to investigate. But who sent that hint? I had to show the picture to Alice by the end of the day. I was sure she knew her stuff about online searches. The paper opened with news about a little tourist plane that had apparently escaped from the Bermuda Triangle unharmed. Normally, the Harbinger didn't deal with such cases, but in this particular situation, there were clues and disturbing details that attracted the attention of the media. From the article, it appeared that the investigator in charge was none other than the infamous Noah Adote Adewale, the man responsible for the so-called weird cases of the HPD. I had very little to do with him, but he always seemed very antisocial to me. Ramos was still on the run, but the experts believe it impossible that he could have left the country due to the extremely tight security checks. I hope they weren't making the same mistake as me, underestimating that guy. In addition to investigating the picture, I had some other leads to follow. First of all, Lupe had told me Molesberg would return during the day, and I absolutely had to question him. In addition, I wanted to better inspect the alley where I'd been challenged by that madman. I had to check if someone saw or heard something useful that night. Hello.
Hi, Lars.
I can't stop staring at your lock.
All right, then. Come on, lay out your hypothesis. Let's see your famous intuition at work.
Judging by your behavior, I'd say that in your adolescence, you were a shy and introverted girl. You spent your days wondering how it would be, for once, to find the courage to strike up a conversation with anyone. Courage, however, that you never found, causing you to grow that rebellious lock, hoping it might earn you a shred of attention. That was your way of declaring to the whole world you weren't the loser they thought.
I don't mean to brag, but at school, I was one of the most popular girls. I did well in almost all my subjects, but not enough to be classified a bookworm. You let me down. Maybe you're not the great detective that I thought.
I'm just warming up. Look at this picture, Alice.
That's the recently kidnapped girl, isn't it? The one you were investigating.
Precisely. Do you recognize the guy accompanying young Catherine?
I recognize the girl only because her picture is everywhere. I don't recall ever seeing him at all.
Have you got any way to find additional information?
I have many resources, my dear investigator. I'll make a copy of the picture, and I'll let you know. But I'll need some time.
Good girl. Dig up all the dirt you can.
Immediately, oh umpteenth wannabe alpha male. I'll let you know.
Another thing, while we're here. If I say the Italian word balsamo, or balm, does it remind you of anything?
Do you think this is the right time to play to word association games?
I can assure you that this balm is vital to the Molesberg investigation. Saying it out loud, I know it sounds a bit stupid, but you can't even imagine how much sweat it took me to get it.
I'll do a search. Maybe the word has a certain secondary meaning that we're missing.
And who would you be, Grasshopper?
Who am I? I am...
Forget it, I don't care. You're hired as sous chef.
Sous chef?
Not that there was a queue for the job. We hung the sign outside the door 2 months ago, and you were the first and only one who showed up.
You'll be shocked to discover that there's no sign hanging on the door.
Damn Roger. He must have stolen it to use it as a dish. Such ingratitude.
Anyway, there must be some misunderstanding. I'm just here in the capacity of,
Are you here to work as a dishwasher? Very well, you can start right now.
It would be an honor to work as a sous chef for a professional in the business. In fact, I've always dreamed of a career like this.
Great. I'm Chef Tony, and from now on, your life is mine.
Can I call you Antoine?
No. For now, there's not much to do, so just observe me and try to learn something. I'll find you something to do for tonight.
May I at least ask you some questions?
Do what you like, but try not to pester me.
A cooking station, as filthy and messy as the rest of the room. It contained a variety of offal, hopefully pork, liver, heart, intestines, and something else. It was a sight many would relive in their nightmares. A cookbook that seemed to date back to the Babylonian civilization. Establishing how long that stew had been in the pot would have required carbon dating. Above the shelf I could see a grater, an empty bottle turned on its side, and some heaps of garlic. Chef, did you notice anything weird in the alley out there the past few nights?
Weird? Weird, you say? Now that I think about it, yes.
Does it concern a mannequin with a bloody smile drawn on its face by any chance?
No, of course not. What kind of sexual fantasies do you have in that Yankee head? I just noticed that the night before last, old Roger didn't show up to beg for food like he usually does every blessed weekend.
Is he homeless?
By now, I consider him more like a regular. He comes here because he knows that on Saturday night the leftovers are more nutritious and elaborate than any other day.
Where could I find this Roger?
Roger is a vagrant. He usually changes places, so it's hard to say. But if I was really in a hurry to find him, I'd take a walk around Nancy's.
That pub-like place on the promenade, right?
That one exactly, Pipsqueak. Now go slice 5 pounds of fresh tomatoes, then mix them and put them on the stove with a drop of oil and a pinch of mustard.
Of course. Maybe in a minute. I'll go back to washing dishes, with your permission.
This mayonnaise keeps curdling.
Here's Nancy's, but still no trace of Roger the homeless guy. Hey, are you the homeless Roger?
Dude, do I look like a homeless guy?
I don't know. Maybe you're undercover.
I'm Mike, and you're a detective, I gather.
How do you know that?
You're wearing a coat in Miami's promenade.
Huh, touche. So, do you know Roger the homeless guy or not?
Knowing him is a stretch, but I caught a glimpse of him sometimes. He sits right on this bench and stays there enjoying the sun. I didn't see him today, though.
I guess I'll have to stop by later then. So, what brings you to the promenade? Yoga?
Just stretching. I warm up for my daily training, as I do every day.
Are you an athlete?
Not by profession, but I like to keep in shape. Plus, this year I'd like to take part in the famous triathlon held here in Miami.
Ah, yes, the triathlon. Well, last year I went to watch it, but I had to leave halfway through the race. My scarf ended up in the spokes of a participant's bike, causing a series of spectacular falls.
You aren't going to assist with this year's competition, too, are you?
No, they put up posters with my face on them to keep me out.
Good.
Have you heard about the Mosberg Scions kidnapping?
No. I don't live in Miami, and honestly, I don't follow the local news.
See you, Mike.
See you soon, mate.
The palm was marked with a red symbol on its trunk. I wonder what it meant.
Who are you? And why have you entered my house without even knocking?
Oh, I'm sorry, Lupe gave me free access. I'm Detective Bundy of the HPD. I'm helping with your daughter's kidnapping case.
The HPD, you said? Am I wrong? Or are we talking about that new support police department formed in the last few years?
You're not wrong, and as you probably know, we average almost a 70% rate of closed cases. And of those, I can say without false modesty that almost 45% are closed by moi.
You're very self-confident, Mr. Did you say Bundy?
It didn't seem right to thump my chest and scream my name as usual, so I just nodded in silence.
So tell me, why is the HPD involved in a normal kidnapping case?
We both know this is not a normal kidnapping case. You are a big shot in this town. The police asked us to help. I hope you don't mind. And most of all, I hoped you wouldn't check. At that moment, I was balanced on a fragile tower of lies.
No, I don't mind at all. The more the forces that cooperate, the greater the chance that we have of finding my daughter as soon as possible. I'm at your complete disposal for anything you may need.
Perfect. And remember, please don't leave the country until the investigation is concluded. He shot me a look that immediately indicated, and without any doubt, that in that house, there was no room for humor. Mr. Molsberg?
Go ahead.
What can you tell me about your daughter?
And Catherine. I know it might sound strange given her social status, but she was a very simple girl. Everyone that knew her couldn't help but love her. But at the same time, nobody dared get too close. You know what it's like.
I understand perfectly. Anything else?
She loved music. You might think that's a family trait, but it's not. Catherine was the first and only one of us who ever touched an instrument. Personally, I know little or nothing about music.
I have to ask, do you think there is anyone who might want to hurt her?
I absolutely and categorically reject the idea. Catherine had no enemies.
I couldn't help but notice how Molsberg talked about his daughter in the past tense. It seemed a bit too soon for such resignation. About the sign painted on the facade. How do you think they did it? It's quite high.
I have thought about it nonstop for hours. And honestly, I can't explain it.
Tell me everything you saw or heard.
Last night, the silence was abruptly broken by a loud crash. Me and the gardener, who lives in the shed behind the mansion, ran outside and found that symbol. I immediately thought it was blood, but fortunately I was wrong. It's just paint. There's something I find rather odd. Namely, why bother painting that symbol?
By doing so, the culprit ensured the image would travel around the world and achieve the desired visibility, attracting my attention specifically.
You have a very refined cognitive process, Mr. Bundy. I can understand why you were assigned to the case.
I'd be interested to know what business you're in precisely.
Without boring you with the technical details, my company works in the field of shipyards.
Boats? Are they that profitable?
We're talking about a company that covers every sector, from little rafts for family entertainment to luxury yachts, which, believe me, very few people can afford, right up to the construction of entire oil platforms.
That must cost a fortune.
You can't even imagine. For such jobs, we only agree to participate in exchange for sharing the revenue that results from the actual extraction. At the end of the day, Mr. Bundy, it's always about oil.
Do you know if your daughter was involved in a romantic relationship during this period?
What the hell kind of a question is that? I refuse to talk about my daughter's private affairs.
Your daughter has been kidnapped, and every possible lead must be followed. So please, avoid making a scene, and be cooperative.
You're right. Sorry for my overreaction. But even if I wanted to, I wouldn't know what to say. No, I don't think Catherine was having a romantic relationship with anyone. She's still just a girl.
Maybe she is to you. Look at this photo.
Where did you find it?
I'll keep my sources confidential if you don't mind. Now, can you please explain to me why you look so upset?
That picture would be very inconvenient if leaked to the press, Mr. Bundy. My daughter's kidnapping would quickly devolve into rumors of a romantic getaway, and that's a scenario I can't risk happening.
I can assure you this photo will remain in my hands only. But now please answer the question.
I don't recognize that man. I trust you'll identify him and then report back to me, won't you?
I'll keep you updated, but bear these words firmly in mind. I don't work for you.
I understand perfectly. Now, if you don't mind, I have to steel myself and regain control of my business.
His reaction seemed disproportionate to me, not attributable to simple fatherly jealousy. To hell with Molsberg's wishes. I'd tear apart his room.
Dios mío, qué susto. You scared me.
I didn't think there was anybody in the house. I hoped there was nobody in the house.
Even if the pain is fuerte, I couldn't leave the house in dirt, you understand? And then I couldn't leave el señor Molsberg alone in such a moment. He is upset and feels that he can do nothing of use.
Commendable, but now you should really let me search the room.
I cannot let anybody enter in here, you remember?
I get it, but I might find something useful for my investigation.
Si fuera por mí, I'd let you search the whole house, but this job me necesita y no puedo risk to lose it.
I understand. Don't worry. Oh, but do worry, Senora Maid. I'll get in there, one way or another.
Bring Miss Catherine back to us, I beg you.
Just what I needed. The maid decided to be a hero right at the least appropriate moment for my investigation. I strongly felt I had to get in there, and I certainly wasn't going to be stopped by a stereotypical maid talking in Spanglish. Tell me something else about Catherine.
Lately she was having a time of isolation. Muy preocupante. Maybe because a piano competition went wrong. The kid really cared about it. She practiced for a long time.
How long did this isolation last?
Months and months, senor. It wasn't like her. Such a lively chica who never let nada get to her. Not even the spirits haunting the house could scare her.
The spirits haunting the house?
You'll think I'm loca, senor. Forget what I just tell you.
Don't worry, I'm used to crazy lunatics. Tell me more about these spirits.
The Mulsbergs are a muy ancient familia, and the spirits of their ancestors are still in here.
Do you have any material proof? Maybe some ectoplasm, a recorded tape with macabre children's voices, something like that?
I never saw any of these manifestations, but La Señorita Catherine did. One night, while she was in the upstairs hall, she hears some whispers. Then, suddenly, words from a threatening voice echo in the air, and the bloody heart almost hit her.
What kind of threatening words?
One of the ancestors' mottos. I read it many times while I dust on the upper floor. Madre de Dios, I'm so terrified this could happen to me too. I come from a very Catholic familia, and the bloody heart always scared me since I was a niña.
I liked Catherine more and more. Taking advantage of a bloody heart and a motto uttered from who knows where, she had designed an epic prank. Unconsciously, from the past, the kid had just sent me a clue to getting rid of the maid. I should replicate that scenario myself by acquiring a bloody heart. I also had to figure out the cursed words used by the girl to lend credibility to her story. The housekeeper told me she had read it while dusting on the upper floor. In addition, I needed a place where I would have full view of the housekeeper, but the main door wasn't an option. Maybe the window on the upper floor would suit me. What do you think of this photograph?
I never see that man before.
And yet Catherine seemed to be pretty much of her current age.
Maybe a secret novio, como se dice, a sweetheart?
I have every intention of finding out. Let's make this day of investigation worthwhile.
Si puedo ayudar, estoy aquí, señor Bundy.
The man had an impressive tuft, the gaze of someone who stared death in the eye multiple times, and a medallion that made me inexplicably shiver. The guy had something familiar about him. I looked at the picture a second time and I started to convince myself that I knew the guy. Where had I seen him before? Wait, I'm starting to remember. What can you tell me about voodoo?